Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
Good evening, everyone. It's been a disappointing day for victims of child sexual abuse, with a former Tasmanian church leader set to escape punishment for his role in church failings. Bishop Philip Newell was singled out by the Royal Commission for turning a blind eye to reports of abuse. Our reporter Michelle Wisby joins us now live with the details. Good evening, Michelle. This must feel like such a blow for victims of abuse.
Yeah, Joe, I've spoken to an abuse survivor who says he and many others have been left angry and upset by this news. Earlier today, we learned that the church is no longer able to go ahead with a disciplinary process against Bishop Philip Newell. The former Tasmanian bishop is being investigated following findings from the Royal Commission into institutional responses to child sexual abuse. The Commission ultimately criticised Bishop Newell for his handling of historical sexual complaints against other priests made by multiple boys. In response, the church started its own disciplinary process, but Bishop Newell applied to stop those punishment proceedings because of his bad health. Now the church has learnt the proceedings are not allowed to go ahead, and it's a decision that's left our current bishop disappointed.
Bishop Newell resigned his licence in 2016. He doesn't operate as an Anglican minister here or anywhere else. He is now very elderly and unwell. We're very sad for survivors of sexual abuse who are hoping to receive closure through this matter, and many others who are disappointed with the outcome.
Joe, the church says it remains committed to supporting those who have suffered abuse and is doing its best to ensure children are better protected moving forward.
Tasmania has resumed importing and exporting energy interstate, with Basslink coming back online after a 2-day outage. The owner of the undersea electricity cable confirmed it resumed service at 9 o'clock last night. It says an electrical fault at the Georgetown converter station caused the outage on Sunday, but it's been resolved. Previously, an undersea break in 2015 and a converter station fault last year caused lengthy outages. Tasmanians now have an extra choice when it comes to electricity providers. Online retailer Catch has launched Catch Energy in the state, promising discounted consumption rates. Authorities are urging Tasmanians to look closely at electricity contracts to make sure they are value for money.
Consumers should always look at the details, whether they're switching or they're not switching, with respect to their electricity prices, and ensure that wherever possible they try and get the lowest prices.
Catch Energy operates in partnership with First Energy, which launched in Tasmania in February. Tasmania's Treasurer has faced a barrage of questions over his plans to plunge the state into more than $1 billion of net debt. Peter Gutwein was today interrogated over just how he plans to pay back the large sum of money, but the answer has left his opponents infuriated.
1 year ago, this building was the centre of rigorous debate. The government revealing its controversial plan to sell Hobart's historic Treasury building. But today, the Treasurer told a very different story.
There may be some part of this that we may continue to own. Leasing is obviously an option, but
well, it wasn't last year. Last year you were hell-bent on selling it.
As well as the building, the inside workings of Treasury came under scrutiny today for budget estimates hearings. Peter Gutwein then grilled over his plan to put Tasmania into $1.1 billion of net debt to fund his vast infrastructure ambitions. Quizzed over how he plans to pay back the debt.
In future budgets, we can maintain our infrastructure spend. We could increase it, or we could decrease it.
Borrow more.
We could decrease it, again, depending on the economic circumstances.
So the plan is to monitor how things are going and make decisions as you go along.
We have a plan to take into account the economic circumstances at the time.
Facing a relentless stream of colourful criticism from across the table.
Smuggy McSmugface.
Can you tell us, with this massive fiscal brain you've got...
You are the slipperiest sucker that's ever sat at this table.
Turning their attention back to the budget, the government last month revealed its plans to strip $450 million from the public sector to make up for lower than expected revenue. But it remains unclear which departments that money will come from. The Treasurer not ruling out taking funds away from the embattled health or child protection agencies.
No agency has been allocated its savings target yet, and we are working through that process.
Housing Minister Roger Yench will face his hearing tomorrow. Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
Liberal Bridget Archer has finally been declared the winner in Bass, more than 2 weeks after the federal election. The Georgetown Mayor defeated Labor's Ross Hart, who currently trails by 562 votes. In a statement, Ms Archer acknowledged her political rival and said she was looking forward to starting work. She'll be declared the formal winner at a declaration of the polls on Thursday. Well, Hobart councillors have officially declared the city is in a homelessness crisis and are calling for all levels of government to respond together. Extreme measures have been floated to combat the issue, like opening up City Hall and churches or setting up homes in converted shipping containers.
Councillor Holly Ewan knows all too well what it's like to be homeless.
You go through all your friends and family first, obviously, but then you don't want to be a burden to them, and a few times I ended up sleeping rough on the streets, and that's just cold and horrible, and you feel like a nobody, that nothing matters.
So a motion before council last night was personal. It declared there is a homelessness crisis in the city, calling for more state and federal government action.
Whatever's most appropriate, I hope that'll be discussed and decided by, all the broader stakeholders in the community. Yep, so whether it's shipping containers or we open up City Hall, I don't know, I don't care. We just need to be sheltering these people, keeping them warm and safe.
Well, it's a very important issue, and that's why as a government we've invested more in this budget.
City Mission says refitted shipping containers could work if they're in the right location with the right support services.
It might well be one of the solutions right now that can address the problems in the short term before we do have the long-term housing solutions available.
Council officers counted 40 people sleeping rough at the Domain yesterday morning, and it's estimated there's a total of 120 homeless people across the city. Liberal Senator Eric Abetz says the federal government is involved in solutions, but council has its role to play too.
What is the Hobart City Council prepared to do? It needs to do its fair share, and the first thing it can do is assist in subdivision approvals, in unit approvals, multi-level home approvals.
The council is encouraging multi-residential tenancies in the right location at the right scale. We're not saying let's just build anything that's proposed.
In the short term, we've got people without a place to live. We need to address that straight away. In the medium to long term, we need to look at what's causing this and how the council can participate in fixing this problem.
Michael Breen, 7 Tasmania News.
The shovels aren't even in the ground for Tasmania's latest irrigation scheme, but it's already been hailed a game changer. Farmers say a lack of water security is a big problem, with the project tipped to put more seeds in the ground and cash in the bank.
Another day of clear skies over Rokeby Farm in Tassie's Northern Midlands. But for farmers Richard and Georgie Burberry, it's a worrying wait for winter rains.
At present, we're holding back on signing contracts for crops that should be planted this coming growing season.
There's hope on the horizon. A $170 million irrigation plan to give a 95% guarantee of water security. Planning and approvals are now underway for 5 projects across Tasmania.
So that's the Don, the Northern Midlands, Wesley Vale, Sassafras, Fingal and Tamar.
Farmers will have to buy into the schemes to see the benefits.
The infrastructure will vary from pipelines, pump stations, dams.
If the projects prove to be winners, the state will press ahead to complete the final phases, leaving the total cost at $500 million. Big business already has a hunger for Tasmanian produce.
We've had a number of phone calls from companies wanting to grow more poppies, more hemp, more potatoes through this area.
Something the farmers can't do without more water. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
A Tasmanian midwife who has spent 2 decades helping to bring babies into the world is being recognised for her dedication. Gina Hollow says being part of the first moment of a new life still brings a tear to her eye.
Little Darcy was born just 3 days ago, and today he's receiving a checkup from the Tasmanian Midwife of the Year.
Just fantastic, very surprising and very fantastic. It's a lovely aspect of nursing. It's a positive aspect, looking after well women.
Oh, I'm very pumped that Gina got this award. It's very well deserved. Gina's had women that come back again and again to have her care for them.
Congratulated today by her colleagues at Launceston General Hospital, and she says she still gets emotional after 20 years on the job.
I've learned that people are, I keep using the word amazing, but people are just incredible. Watching fathers become fathers is just, it brings a tear to your eye.
The Tasmanian winner was nominated by the very women she's assisted, and after delivering thousands of babies, Gina is fulfilling a lifelong dream.
I actually saw a baby be born when I was about 11 years old, and I just wanted to since then. So yeah, it took me a little while. I'm not a spring chicken, but I did it a bit later on in life, but it's a great job.
And the midwife has some advice for those just starting out in the field.
Keep doing it. It's worth the hard work. It's a lot of hard work to become a midwife. You have to sacrifice quite a bit, but it's really worth it in the end.
Ruby Kamain, 7 Tasmania News.
Around 12 Tasmanian hikers are gearing up for the trek of a lifetime. They're set to take on the Kokoda Trail later this year to raise money and awareness for Cancer Council Tasmania. One participant is taking part for the second time in support of his wife, who was diagnosed with breast cancer 2 years ago, and for his brother, who died just a few weeks ago.
So this one has become a little bit more personal again. But it's also nice because this insidious disease has got to be sorted out some way.
The group is planning to jet off to Papua New Guinea in October. A program in place at Tasmania Zoo for the past 16 years is now being rolled out nationwide. Woolworths is announcing all of its stores will have an active food waste program, an initiative the local zoo is encouraging other sanctuaries to take part in.
It allows us to collect that, use the food that would just go to landfill that is still perfectly fine to use. Everything from whole coconuts and whole melons that we feed our animals, and it enriches their lives to get that variety as well.
The zookeepers spend 2 hours each morning collecting food waste.
Tasmanian footy fans are set to get their fix at UTAS Stadium this weekend, with the state's best young players on show for a triple header of representative footy. And Devils coach Adrian Fletcher says expect fireworks, with his side sitting just one win outside the top 5.
Following the side's 32-point win over Greater Western Victoria, the Devils remain undefeated in Melbourne this NAB League season.
There's an expectation now. You know, you pull on that Guernsey, you're playing for the Tassie people, and that's what we're trying to create.
With 4 wins and 4 losses, a result this Sunday against the Murray Bushrangers will see the Tassie boys right in the mix for finals, and Fletcher is adamant his side has what it takes to shake things up.
It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. We need to be consistent over the whole season. We make sure it's our brand, the way we play. We want to play exciting brand, high pressure.
The Devils NAB League clash will be followed by the Under-18 National Championship match between the Allies and Vic Country before the TSL's best battle it out against Vic Metro in the Under-25 rep match. To basketball, and the Southern Huskies are preparing for a huge week ahead, starting with Thursday night's clash with Canterbury at the Derwent Entertainment Centre, with the Rams sitting just 1 win clear of the Huskies on the New Zealand NBL ladder.
Sort of been a lead up to this, and we've gotten through the first step of winning the games that we should win. And now we come up against a top 2, top 3 team, and now is the time to make some noise.
The side then make their way to Launceston's Silverdome on Saturday night with import Jalen Billups keen to provide the Tassie crowd with more highlights like this.
It wasn't really that big of a deal to me, honestly. It was just like, oh, I've done this before, but everybody else kind of hyped it up. It's like, that was the greatest thing I've ever seen. So.
The referee even turned around and went, wow, what was that? Like, that's coming from the umpires.
After a shaky start to life as a Formula 3 driver, Alex Peroni is determined to get his season back on track and cement himself as a true star of the future. The Tasmanian has also secured himself a start in one of the sport's most prestigious events.
It's been a tough initiation into the cutthroat world of F3, with Peroni finishing up in 12th and 24th place in the first two races of the championship in Barcelona.
I learned that it's a very tricky field and very close. I mean, I qualified 9th, and if it was the 10th fast, I would have been 6th, and if I was the 10th slow, I would have been 14th. So it's super close and super competitive.
Determined rather than deterred, he returns back to Europe later this week to fine-tune with Team Campos ahead of round 2 of the series.
The first round wasn't what we hoped for, but we know the potential is there, and we know where to improve, and there's potential to improve, so that's the main thing.
The Tasmanian will also have the opportunity to write his name into the motorsport history books in November when he competes at the coveted Macau Grand Prix.
Very prestigious event, a lot of history, a lot of tradition. You know, drivers like Senna and Schumacher have won there.
And he's giving himself every chance of following in those famous footsteps after wins at similar street circuits in Monaco and Pau during last year's Formula Renault Euro Cup.
Only the best drivers and top drivers win there. So if I can do well, for sure, give me a lot of exposure to all the big F1 teams.
But for now, Peroni is focused on steering his F3 season back in the right direction at the Paul Ricard circuit in France later this month.
You always have to go in with the belief that you can win, otherwise you shouldn't really be there.
Good evening. Temperatures sat below average again today and ranged from -3 at Ouse and Lyowini to 15 at Eddystone Point. Hobart 11, Launceston and Burnie 13, Devonport a top of 12. The cold southwesterlies kept the warmth away and brought a light shower to the west and far south. Ouse, St Helens, Smithton and King Island all 13 degrees. Flinders Island, Lowhead, Friendly Beaches and Grove 12. Strahan 11 and Lyowini a top of 5. An area of cloud covered a good part of the state today. Looks like the northeast of Tasmania missed most of that cover this afternoon. More of that cold pool of air extends back over the Bight ahead of a high which sits above some low cloud. A low pressure system has cloud off New South Wales. The rest of the country clear apart from the far north. Tomorrow the low will move east of Tasmania. The high over the Bight moves slowly east. Still the main force on our weather. The next front is well to the west. West to southwest winds increasing to 20 to 30 knots before a further increase over the south to 40 knots, swells to 4 metres in southern waters. We have a gale warning from Wineglass Bay to Low Rocky Point, a strong wind warning for remaining Tasmanian coastal waters and a small craft wind alert for the lakes. Also a road weather alert for icy roads for the Central Plateau, Midlands and Upper Derwent Valley. Hobart 14 tomorrow, becoming windy with late showers. Also showers for Geeveston 13 the top and 11 for Bothwell, a windy afternoon. Launceston, morning frost and partly cloudy, -2 to a top of 14. 14 also for Devonport, morning frost for Cressy, a top of 12 later. Burnie, a possible late shower and 13. 13 also for Strahan with the wind picking up and 14 for Curry with showers on King Island. St Helens mostly sunny though and 15. 15 for Swansea. Orford 15 degrees, getting windy as well in the afternoon. Thursday some showers over the west and far south. Fine for the rest along with fresh southwesterly winds. Patchy morning frost in the north on Friday. Another shower over the west and far south. Sunny over the southeast on Saturday. A shower over the west and possibly the north. 23 in Perth and sunny tomorrow. Some cloud over Adelaide and Melbourne. A shower and afternoon storm in Sydney ahead of the Blues' big win over Queensland. Sunny and 21 in Brisbane. Smoke over Darwin and 29. 9 degrees and mostly cloudy in Hobart at the moment. Just 6 in Launceston and just 5 in Devonport. Joe, we're only 4 days into winter. I want it over with already. Yes, I want winter gone ASAP as possible.
Isn't that your job to get rid of it? You're the weatherman. Thank you, Merv. All right, we'll see you a little bit later with updates. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.